Horror games on PS5 are reaching a new level of realism, where lighting, detail, and atmosphere work together to create something truly unsettling. Environments feel more alive, and every small detail adds to the tension. Let's get right into it.
Really leave Godstone.
The Occultist is a first-person narrative thriller where you play as Alan Rebels, a paranormal investigator searching for his missing father on the abandoned island of Godstone, using a mystical pendulum to interact with objects and alter parts of the environment through 4 distinct mechanics. Gameplay involves exploring locations, solving puzzles, and studying occult clues while avoiding supernatural entities through stealth, with no direct combat as players uncover events tied to the island and its past.
I went in search of my father, but what I found was a curse that binds everything, living or dead. Running from what haunts you gives it power.
This is an SOS from the forward reconnaissance ship Cassiopeia.
Directive 8020 is a cinematic sci-fi horror game set on the colony ship Cassiopeia after it crash lands on Tau Ceti F, where players control crew members trying to survive an alien organism that can mimic humans. Gameplay combines decision-making, stealth, and action, with players using improvised tools and quick reactions to avoid threats while managing trust among the crew. A branching story system allows choices to change events, character outcomes, and multiple endings.
We need urgent assistance.
They're right behind me! Open the fucking door!
God, it's alive.
Please. Help us. Get me out of here! Or I'm gonna fucking freeze!
Fucking burning in here! You can't leave me out here!
Please.
Halloween is an asymmetrical horror game set in Haddonfield where players take the role of Michael Myers or one of several survivors trying to escape his pursuit. Gameplay includes stealth and stalking as Michael, using abilities and shadows to track targets, while survivor players gather items, warn residents, call authorities, and coordinate actions. Matches are built around 1v4 multiplayer, with dynamic situations, NPC interaction, and a separate single-player mode that shows events from Michael's perspective.
Fans of the genre know and love, but we're incredibly excited to pull back the curtain and unveil more details that demonstrate our commitment to delivering our most robust, dynamic, and terrifying multiplayer offering yet. Michael Myers is a creeping, methodical killer, and on Halloween night, Haddonfield becomes his hunting ground. The boogeyman's primary desire is to eliminate every living resident in this quiet town, but he also begins each match with a list of special targets that supply greater rewards if killed before time expires. These unfortunate residents are positioned across various sites in the map, and Michael players are empowered to use their nightmare suite of abilities to locate, terrorize, and ultimately execute their victims and anyone bold enough to interfere with their bloodthirsty ambitions. Killer Sense allows players to step behind the mask and stalk the residents of Haddonfield. When using this skill and entering the first-person perspective, Michael becomes aggressively aware of his surroundings and the proximity of potential prey. By focusing on targets with murderous intent, Michael builds varying levels of stalk, which aid him in identifying and tracking targets and open increasingly satisfying options for executions. An effective killer always keeps their victims unaware of their presence until those final fatal moments. While historically Michael Myers isn't known for his speed, fundamental abilities like shape jump amplify the shape's mobility with hauntingly unpredictable results. In shape jump, Michael slips into the shadows to move around environments unseen. Not only does this increase Michael's base movement speed, but it also provides access to other powerful traversal options, including shape dash, which sends Michael lunging forward with violent momentum. Shape jump is confidently one of the most powerful tools at Michael's disposal, and supplies unlimited possibilities for iconic jump scare moments.
Stay cool.
However, that potency comes with a few major caveats. Our masked antagonist can only enter and exit shape jump while in the cover of darkness or outside a resident's line of sight. The light may provide temporary reprieve for the residents of Haddonfield, but Michael can work to remove sources of illumination by shutting off lights, cutting power, and even catalyzing temporary blackouts.
Oh God!
Despite the unquestionable malevolence of Michael Myers, his horrifying homecoming to Haddonfield won't be welcomed without resistance. As the body count climbs and evidence of the boogeyman's presence becomes undeniable, local authorities, residents, and distinct playable civilians may decide to gather weapons and face off against evil itself. Thankfully, Michael knows his way around sharp objects and will have multiple options for melee combat encounters. And if especially persistent Haddonfieldites do manage to get the upper hand in an exchange, don't worry.
How the hell?
It's not possible.
We've said it once, and we'll say it again. You can't kill the boogeyman. While Michael swiftly endeavors to turn Haddonfield into a graveyard, our heroic group of civilian characters desperately attempts to save their neighbors and escape the boogeyman's bloodthirst. As a civilian, it's up to you to find fellow Haddonfield residents, convince them of his malicious intent, and guide them safely to one of several possible randomized escapes located around the map before they meet an untimely end. This distinctive cast of playable civilian characters each comes equipped with unique stats, special traits, and signature personalities. To ensure no two matches of Halloween play out the same, our team has constructed a vast playground of possibilities in Haddonfield, offering civilians a multitude of diverse gameplay systems to aid them in achieving their objectives and surviving the night. As civilians navigate these environments, they'll uncover points of interest, revealing resident NPCs, lootable containers, hiding places, telephones, possible escape routes, and more. Thoroughly and cautiously exploring your surroundings could very well mean the difference between life and death. And when death comes to your little town, it's probably not a bad idea to head to your neighbors and contact the local authorities. Civilians are tasked with tracking down surviving residents and warning them of the looming threat. Successful conversations with residents can permit civilians to request additional calls to police, commands to find secure hiding places, or companionship as they navigate the formerly peaceful streets of Haddonfield.
Should we stick together? Maybe work better as a team.
Whether it's a local family friend or the authorities, there's safety in numbers. Once the innocent residents of Haddonfield have been located and persuaded, it's time for the civilians to plan their harrowing escape. Lootable containers scattered throughout the map contain weapons, distractions, and key items that can be used to unlock and access a variety of possible escape routes. The location of these items and escapes changes from match to match, so civilians greatly benefit from adjusting their strategies based on the objects uncovered. It's also worth noting that initiating these escape sequences generates a tremendous amount of noise, which will alert Michael to your exact location. So what happens in the likely event that a civilian becomes another display of Michael's wretched, inhumane nature? Well, their Haddonfield story isn't over just yet. Even in death, they can support their friends and even return as a sheriff's deputy or the unrelenting Dr. Loomis. Once they've re-emerged upon the streets of Haddonfield, they can cooperate with the remaining civilians and responding officers to try and put a stop to Michael's murderous rampage.
Freeze where you are, Michael. You're coming with me.
While he can't be killed, with enough community resistance, the proper equipment, and sheer manpower, he can be detained and shipped back to Smith's Grove Sanitarium. Halloween is a legendary film with a genre-defining legacy, and our mission has been to bring the film's unsettling sense of dread to our asymmetrical horror sandbox. By empowering players to control the tension and stage the scares, we're building a multiplayer experience designed with replayability at the forefront. We'll have more details to share regarding character progression, character traits, customization, proximity chat, and more thrilling gameplay features in the coming months. But we can't wait for all of you to join us when Halloween launches on September 8th, 2026.
Clive Barker's Hellraiser Revival is a first-person action horror game where you play as Aiden using the Genesis configuration puzzle box to rescue his girlfriend from the labyrinth while dealing with Pinhead and a cult devoted to the Cenobites. Gameplay includes combining the box's abilities with weapons to fight enemies such as cultists and other creatures, while managing survival in hostile areas. The structure involves combat, ability use, and progressing through a story connected to the ritual.
Sometimes the things we think we need are not all that good for us. As you say, I have witnessed you, Aiden Lynch. You crave what we offer, your desires so plentiful. Give in to your thirst.
Such delicious torment. It is done. She belongs to the labyrinth now. But perhaps we can come to an arrangement.
What do you want from me?
Aiden Lynch. You will give yourself to our purpose. All that you are. Let us begin.
This place has been buried for centuries. Today is our chance to discover what no one else has seen.
Dark Mass is a first-person underwater horror game where you play as Alice, a deep-sea explorer investigating a sunken manor discovered beneath a shipwreck while communicating with her brother through a walkie-talkie system. Gameplay involves moving through submerged spaces with vertical navigation, solving puzzles based on historical torture methods, and making decisions that affect the outcome. A hostile presence tied to a curse must be avoided as players uncover the manor's past and attempt to escape.
Let me know if you're getting the feed.
Behind you! There's something behind you!
I've never seen anything like this before. What was that? I think I'm not alone down here.
Flooding and pandemic, access to all external areas is restricted.
The Sinking City 2 is a third-person survival horror game set in a flooded version of Arkham where players move through streets and buildings using boats and on-foot navigation while dealing with hostile creatures. Gameplay includes managing limited resources, using weapons against monsters like Deep Ones and Cultists, and solving optional puzzles tied to hidden areas. Environmental clues and side cases provide additional outcomes, with progression involving exploration, combat, and uncovering events connected to the city.
What are we willing to do to save our children?
Remothered Red Nun's Legacy is a survival horror game where you play as Susan searching for her missing daughter inside an isolated residence linked to past disappearances. Gameplay includes stealth, hiding, and escaping from stalkers, with limited combat in critical moments. Players collect clues, solve puzzles, and use hypnosis-based mechanics to reveal hidden paths and memories. Progression involves exploring connected areas, avoiding threats, and uncovering secrets tied to the Red Nun and the events surrounding the case.
A child is dreaming in REM phase. With open wings, a moth is ablaze.
Simon, doesn't do me. You can't stay in this room forever.
Silent Hill Townfall is a first-person horror game where you play as Simon Ordell, returning to the island town of Street, Amelia, to uncover events connected to his past. Gameplay includes exploring fog-covered areas, avoiding threats, and using limited weapons during intense encounters. Players rely on a device called the CRTV to detect signals and uncover clues while solving puzzles that reveal story details. Progression involves investigation, evasion, and piecing together fragments tied to the town.
I woke up in the water again. But this time it's different. I keep trying to fix what happened. But no matter what I do,
you can't fix it. It doesn't let us change things. You did what you did.
Ontos is a sci-fi horror game where you play as Aditi Amani, investigating a repurposed moon hotel called Samsara, linked to her father's past, and a series of hidden experiments. Gameplay involves interacting with machinery, solving system-based puzzles, and managing resources while moving through connected areas. Players take part in experimental scenarios that affect outcomes, with decisions influencing events. Progression relies on research, problem-solving, and uncovering information tied to the station and its secrets.
Your father thought he knew, and it inspired him to grant wishes.
Who's there? Nightmare. Yes!
That's why all of us are here. You want to understand, to know. Then you have to step beyond the walls surround you. Play your father's game. Push the very limits. Until even reality itself.
Ill is a first-person action horror game set inside a research fort taken over by a mysterious entity where players fight to survive against hostile creatures while searching for a way forward. Gameplay includes using weapons with detailed handling, managing inventory, crafting items, and upgrading gear. Enemies react dynamically to actions and surroundings, supported by realistic physics that also affect puzzles. A detailed damage system allows dismemberment with combat and survival depending on precision, resource use, and awareness. End of Abyss is a single-player, top-down sci-fi horror game where you control Cell, a combat technician moving through a derelict underground complex filled with hostile creatures. Gameplay combines twin-stick shooting with survival elements, including managing light sources and using a scanner to map branching paths and detect threats. Players upgrade equipment and adapt to changing conditions while navigating interconnected areas, with progression tied to combat, resource use, and careful movement through dangerous environments.
Teddy! Teddy! Come here, boy! What has gotten into him?
Paranormal Tales is a first-person horror game built around found footage, where players experience events through body cams, phones, and VHS recordings linked to missing individuals. Gameplay involves moving through different locations, with each scenario acting as a separate case that reveals what happened to the person behind the footage. Visual and audio effects replicate real recordings, while progression depends on navigating environments and uncovering details across multiple self-contained stories. Necrophosis is a first-person horror adventure where players move through a surreal world affected by a spreading decay known as necrophosis. Gameplay focuses on exploration and puzzle solving, with environments filled with unusual shapes and visual elements that connect to the story. Players uncover narrative details through environmental clues and poetic narration while progressing through different areas. Advancement depends on solving interconnected puzzles and understanding the changing surroundings.
Has been built on ashes. That is why you must never lose faith.
Valor Mortis is a first-person action Souls-like where you play as William, a resurrected soldier of Napoleon's army, fighting through a plague-ridden Europe using melee weapons and supernatural abilities. Gameplay centers on precise combat with parries, dodges, and timed attacks, along with gaining strength after death and unlocking new powers. Players navigate interconnected areas, face enemy units, and search for hidden elements, with progression tied to combat mastery, ability upgrades, and uncovering details behind the plague.
This isn't war. This is damnation.
Alien Deathstorm is a first-person action horror game where players take the role of a combat engineer sent to investigate a silent off-world colony damaged by a massive storm overrun by hostile alien creatures. Gameplay involves using weapons and movement to survive while navigating areas affected by environmental hazards. Players move through damaged locations, deal with ongoing threats, and manage combat situations, with progression tied to survival, exploration of the colony, and handling both enemies and the storm's impact.
Warning. Adverse weather conditions detected. Wind speeds reaching survival threshold. Seek shelter.